Okay, welcome back. We are in Book of Samuel, chapter 25. What happened was that Avigail had come to David to try to convince David not to kill her husband Nabal. I referred to last week. So it says in we're in chapter 25, verse 22. It says, Vayomer David Avigail. So David said to Avigail. Now, if you notice in the word Avigail, there's a Yud missing. Normally it's written Aleph, Beit, Yud, Gimel, Yud, Lamed. Throughout the area it's written that way. Suddenly it's written without the Lamed, namely, without the Yud, namely Aleph, Beit, Yud, Gimel, Lamed. So the rabbis ask, why is the second Yud omitted? And they explain that the reason for the omission is to show the disfavor that Hashem had with Avigail for offering marriage to David before her husband Nabal was even gone. She had hinted that when Nabal dies, that David should marry her. So that was inappropriate for a Bas Yisrael, for a daughter of Israel, to do that. And even though that it would work out in the end, it still is considered a negative for her. So they write it as without the Yud to illustrate that there's a problem here. So again, David says to Avigail, Baruch Hashem Elokei Yisrael, blessed is Hashem, the God of Israel, Asher Shalachech Hayom Hazeh, that Hashem sent you this day, Likrati, to meet me. And he's going to explain, Baruch Tamech, and praise is your reasoning, Ubaruch Ha'at, and praise to you. Asher Kilitani Hayom Hazeh, that you stopped me, you stopped me from doing something wrong. On this day, me bo damim, from coming to blood, Oshia Yadili, you have saved my hand from this. So he's saying to Avigail, you are a wonderful woman. If you had not come, I would have done something very bad for my future position. Not wrong per se, but just bad. And he's recognizing all her arguments that we talked about the last class, and saying that they're all valid reasons. And therefore, he was thanking God that didn't happen, and using her as the instrument to stop him. And he says, Ulam, and the Metzudas Tzion says, Ulam means but truly. Chai Hashem, as God, the Elokei Israel, the God of Israel lives. Hashem mena'ani, that has stopped me, me'ara otach, from hurting you. Because if I would have just come and I would have done what I was originally planning on doing, namely killing Nabal in his whole house, so that you would have been a victim. Namely, either you would have been killed in the process, chas v'shalom, or, assuming I didn't want to kill the women there, as David is saying, you would have still been without a husband and without a means of support. So that would not have been good either. And then he says, Kulula miharta v'tavot lekrati, had you not hurried to meet me, ki im notar Naval, there would not be left for Naval ad oraboka by the morning, mashtin bekir, even one who urinates on the wall. So here you have an argument in English translations. One translates the term mashtin bekir as one who urinates on the wall as a dog. So not even a dog would be left of Navals. And you have another translation that says neither a child. Now, normally you would not consider a child somebody who urinates against the wall, which is why I don't really like that translation. But I've seen it in certain places, and yet it would make more sense to translate it as the Judaic press does, as a dog, because again it's one who urinates against the wall. So now you have verse 35. Vaikach David miyadat, so David took from her hand that which she brought him. Remember, she had brought food for the troops to eat, because that's what started this whole thing. David had wanted food from Nabal, since he had protected Naval's flocks, even though Nabal never asked him, granted, but he had protected them all this time. And so since Nabal was celebrating his great amount of sharing that he was doing, so he was a very rich man, so David had asked for some food, and he said no. Again, refer you back to the other classes, and that's why she brought him all this food. So he takes the food from her hand, V'la Amar, and he said to her, Ali l'shalom levetech, go up in peace to your home. Re'i, see, Shamati b'kolech, I see, I have heard your voice, I have listened to your voice. Ve'esa panayach, and I have lifted up your face, which means I have shown you favor. Which again, she asked him to forgive her for not seeing his men, as she was the Ba'alat Abayat, the leader of the house. She was the one in charge of the food, not her husband. That's what she came, again, I refer you back to the other classes, where she gives that whole argument of forgive me, because I have messed up, that I didn't see the guests. So he says, it's a panai, so I have fulfilled your request, I have forgiven you. V'tavo Avigail. So now verse 36. V'tavo Avigail. So Avigail comes, and again her name is full, like normal. El Naval, and she comes home to Naval. What do we see? What's the picture that we see? V'inei lo mishta bebeito. He had a meal, a banquet in his home. What kind of banquet? K'mishtei hamelech, like a banquet of a king. V'leiv Naval tov alav, and he was a happy guy. V'hu shikor admod, he was very drunk. So what happens? V'lo higidalo, she didn't tell him anything. Devar kantom v'gadol ad or yivoker. She doesn't say word one as to where she was, which means obviously that Naval didn't miss her, because he's not even asking where you were, honey, and so he doesn't know his wife is gone for whatever reason. But she doesn't say word one to him until the next day. That's when she's going to tell him. Now, the question is, why did the author have to tell us that he was eating a meal fit for a king? And that would be, as the rabbis explain, because we have to, when she's going to tell him that she took the food, if he could not complain, you stole from me, that I didn't have enough food. Here he was eating like a king. Furthermore, why doesn't she tell him while he's drunk? She was afraid for her life, the rabbis say. If he would have taken it the wrong way, he would have gone crazy and started to beat her up. So she didn't want to endanger herself. It's a smart thing not to do. You avoid all those arguments. And what you do is you wait for the next day when you're awake, when you're sober, so then you can have a discussion. Until then, you just forget it. And that's what happened. Vayiba Boker, and it was in the morning. But Sedayim in Naval, when the wine left, a beautiful way to say it, when the wine left Naval, which means he became sober. Vatagilo Ishto, so now his wife told him, these matters, what she did. And it says, Vayamat libo bekirbo, and his heart died within him. And Rashi says, what did his heart die within him? I'll read it to you. She says, Ta'ir al hamincha shehuvad leDavid. He was bothered, worried about the gift offering or the food that was brought to David. Here, the guy had everything he wanted. He got nice and drunk. He was happy, and she tells him, "I took a little food from you," and he's suddenly upset. He's so angry. His heart died with him. That's what it says. The Mari Kra has a different take on that, and it says that the reason his heart died was he was afraid of what David was going to do, even though his wife told him that David is not going to avenge his disgrace, nothing like that. He still doesn't believe it apparently, and so he's worried. And what happens? V'huayala oven. And he became like a stone. So that's we're already seeing that his downfall's about to happen. Verse 38. Vayhi ka'aseret hayamim. It was around 10 days. Vayigov Hashem et Naval, and Hashem plagued Naval. Vayamot, and he died. Now, how does he plague him? The rabbis, whenever it says plague, the rabbis want to say with a stomach disease, okay? And that's going to come in important in a second. But I also want to look at another thing. Why 10 days? The reason is, Rashi explains that the first 7 days of this time was when Shmuel, the prophet, died. So when Shmuel died, if you would have had Naval dying at the same time as Shmuel, that would not be good for Shmuel, because then the people would connect the two of them together for some reason, and they would say everybody dies. So if whatever the case is going to be, there's no difference between Rasha and a tzaddik. So here, to show kavod to the tzaddik, to show honor for the righteous person, namely Shmuel. So God waits, as it were, 10 days. So, and Naval suffering for 10 days, and that's the payback. Now, why does he pay him back with his stomach disease, according to that opinion? Because he did not want to give food to the boys from David, and so therefore he's punished, mida connected mida, for that. Okay, so now next verse, 39. Vayishma David ki mate Naval. So David heard that Naval had died. V'yomer, and he said, Baruch Hashem, praise Hashem. Normally you wouldn't say praise Hashem when somebody dies. You say Baruch Dayanet, praise is true judge. We're praising God one way or the other, but here Baruch Hashem is normally yay. So what's he praising Hashem for? So you continue on. Asher Rav et Riv Cherpati Miyad Naval, that he avenged or judged the case of my shame from the hand of Naval. That's number one. That's the first reason he's thanking Hashem, because Hashem fought his battles. Instead of David going out and doing something that is going to corrupt his kingdom from the very beginning, Hashem saved him. He left it in Hashem's hands, which is what we should all do. We should leave the revenge to God, and because God has his ways, and that's it. And then what happens is, and he continues to thank God for stopping his servant, namely David, from doing bad. And furthermore, Naval, and the evil of Naval, Hashem returned to his head. Like I said, if you have that stomach disease, so then it would make sense that that's the revenge he got, because he didn't want people to eat. Vayishlach David. So then David sent Avigail, and he spoke about Avigail, Lekachta lo isha, to take her for a wife. So here, since Naval had passed away, and David wanted, if you remember back from the story again, check the videos from before, David had liked what Avigail did, and certainly wanted to get involved with her. Avigail stopped him, because again it would be bad for the future kingdom. But now all the impediments were gone, so now he beckons, calls for Avigail. How does he do that? Ve'avo avdei David el Avigail Carmela. He sends his servants to Avigail and Carmela. Vayidabru elav, and they spoke to her, Lamor, saying, David shalachanu elach. David has sent us to you. Lakach teich lo isha, to take you to be his wife. So now she has a decision to make. Here, her husband has passed away, and she has David has now sent for her to come, to asking her to be his wife. So what happens? Vatakam, she got up. V'tishtachu paimarsa, she bowed toward the ground. Vatomer, and she said, Hine amatcha l'shivcha. Behold, your servant, your maidservant, should be, well, again, the two words for maidservant here. Your bondswoman should be like your servant. What kind of servant? Now here's an interesting thing. L'chotz raglei avdei adoni, to wash the feet of my master. To wash the feet of my Lord's servants. Even something like that. So now what happens? Why did she answer that? Why didn't she just say, yes, I will be your wife? That's it. The future king is asking you to be the king, to be the princess, to be the queen. Why not? So what happens is she says, out of humility, the Ralbag says, of humility, she says that it would be enough for me to be a shipcha in your house, never mind your wife. Obviously, I would want to be a wife, but it would be enough for that. And that's why she uses the terms l'chot raglei avdei adoni, to wash the feet of my master's servants, which is a term of endearment. Because what is one of the 5 things that a woman does for a husband? Washes his feet in the old days, not today, but in the old days that was a term of endearment. So that's what she's saying. That's why she uses that language. Verse 42. She hurried. Vatakam Avigail. Avigail got up. Again, she's v'tirkav al chamor. And she rode on her donkey along with her. It says v'chamesh naroteh holchot l'ragla. She took 5 of her maidservants with her. V'telech acharei malachei David, and she went after the messengers of David. Vatihilo l'isham. She became a wife to him. And then we have another statement, V'ed Achinoam, which is a woman, Lakach David Yisrael. David took from Yisrael, from Jezreel, Vatiana Gam, Shteham, Lod Nashim, and she also became, so now he has 2 wives, along with Michal. And what happens with Michal? Verse 44. Shaul Natan et Michal bito Esha David. And Shaul gave Michal, his daughter, who was also the wife of David, Lepalti ben Laish, to Falti ben Laish, Shemi Galim. That was from Galim. So the question is, what's Shaul doing here? Shaul is an observant Jew. He's one who cares about Torah. He loves Torah. He never fought with God. He's always trying to get in God's good graces. And yet what he's doing is he's sending his daughter to adultery, to commit adultery. Why would he want to do that? Even if you have hatred for your son-in-law, which supposedly he doesn't anymore, but let's assume that he still does. He still dislikes David intensely, but still, why do that to your daughter? He didn't give her a get. He didn't give her a divorce. In those days, divorce you would have to give, so to get rid of the wife. So what happens is Shaul said, no, she's not married to him, because how did she get married to me? How did David marry my daughter? David gave me the 100 foreskins I asked from the Philistines, but that's not worth anything to anybody. It's not worth it's not worth any money. It was just something for me, and you cannot marry a woman based upon a gift, not matana. So he looked at it like that, and he also looked at abandonment, but those are the issues that he was looking at, and he said, so therefore David is not married to my wife, to my daughter, and therefore I can give her away. What we'll find out, though, in Falti's credit, is that he never has conjugal relations with Michal, which is why Michal does not become forbidden to David later on in the story. If you like this class, which I hope you do, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to ask questions, please submit them through in the comments, and I'll try to get back to them. If you'd like to hear a class that I'm not presently giving, please do that. If you'd like to sponsor the class also, all those things are possible. Thank you very much for watching.